and who served her Lord with everything she had. Annette and I had the privilege of becoming her spiritual parents in November 2011 when the care was transferred from Pastor Pulipule Samani and Sapali Pulipule. But my connection with Betty goes beyond that. Before that, when I came from Samoa to finish school in New Zealand, they were a very small church in Grayling, and as Pastor Moabai alluded to, that they have moved on, but there was still the original crew that was there. And Pastor Charles mentioned something about the rugby team. So I was the new boy on the block, probably the fastest winger there, trying to help out the oldest guy. And I went to St. Paul's College. St. Paul's College is only a 2-minute sprint for me up the road from my house in Grayling. But Betty, Safai and Faisea's house was opposite our house to Tanikai, and then there was 54 Dryden Street that Charlotte mentioned last night. That was the hub of our rugby crew. It is ironic that Safai's washing machine was our laundromat, and her kitchen was our mama's kitchen. And her TV was the only TV our church had. Kasia kiwi and makoloku yasonga. Ari whare whaisea sawa. Yeah, umata alongai o after the games across the rugby field, we would just come and go to the back of the house. There's a hose there. Just hose all the dirt down, chuck all the rugby gear in, and the boots lay outside. And Betty and Charlotte would come and collect all the dirty gear. Yama, fui the whangao. Yeah, bueno la yenga. Then we would go and sit in Faisea's sitting room. Awai mo mua mo foi la no maro. Sa vai ko kai vera ko. And then we would sit there, watch TV, and especially if it's a Saturday, I also umat kiwi is full lure. Nakaule mako or kimi na ya ro kiwi moe. And it was the only color TV. Brother Sam and Sister Tessie had their TV up at their house, but it was too flash, too. I think I was the only one that had the privilege of going up there. But Mauteye umaila loi. Moksa faye lo, moki ai la so ako. I a fine. Yamu kiwi le sulur po moe. I olai so mas testa lo blacks le kai au so. Yeah. E mo moe man ma ko vai ngale fakari ke mi test. Well, just your and then we would just sleep there after we've eaten all the food, and for the ear scratching your head there, like, Mama Safai, man. Le laundromat le salad they might called Mama Soy's laundromat, and but we would. Makayari test, yeah, umari test, yeah. Halu la kol makaya suela over kol man look, but Miss Koiko Samaki, oh, my foot, Lokapi, or for Kurma. Yeah, Mamma Moya, Yara, not by a fine. And that's what the life was with what we did. And we thank you for saying Safai, for saying Soy. Of Kayukawainga, 54 Dryden Street. Kelele legacy, o lua mano, lua finge a beti. Ilano lofa. and Sapphire were known for one thing in particular. They were always early to church. You see them every Sunday. Settled in before most of us had even left the house. Sapphire didn't like being late, so Betty had no choice but to come early. Though I think she enjoyed that quiet time of preparation before the service began. That's who Betty was, very devoted, disciplined, consistent. And she was sharp as ever. She never missed a beat. Heaven help you if you did. In our church, we have an advisory board, and the hands and feet of the church board. They were responsible for opportunities of growth and stewardship. Betty's contribution was invaluable, just as we have witnessed a few minutes ago. She took charge of the funding, her skills from her work with Pastor Ikilefi and the Tongan Trust to bless our church community. She was meticulous with details, tireless in her efforts, always determined to make sure our church had what it needed to thrive. Any funding success, we had bore her fingerprints somewhere. But beyond the administration and the structure, Betty's heart was for people, especially the generations to come. She loved seeing the younger ones rise up and take their place in the church. Although she belonged to one generation by age, she chose to stand with her mom and the Kalepo group you ever hear of all the time. The Kalepo group is our gold card seniors. She loved them dearly and always had a story or two to tell about their gatherings. She would come to me, checking out about how Kalepo would sometimes repeat the same lessons over and over, or how she never quite knew what was going on. But it didn't matter, because she'd say, they probably forgot what was said anyway. So her humor never failed to bring light to our lives. Betty's journey wasn't without challenge. She faced multiple disabilities, but she never once allowed them to define her or limit what she could do. Her pace might have been slow at times, but her mind and her tongue were quick. She had vision, she had wit, she had the courage to speak up when something needed saying. When Betty transitioned from this life to the next, we had the profound honor of being present, witnessing perhaps the most peaceful passing I have ever seen as a pastor. The peace of God was in that room. And it was as though the Lord himself whispered, well done, my good and faithful servant. Dr. Miles Monroe said, live full and die empty. Betty did exactly that. She poured out every bit of herself in service to God, to her church, to her generation, her family, and also to the next generations. She left nothing in the tank.